Right everybody, this is a trolling video. This one has been the hardest one to make and edit. It's been a complete nightmare. Bear in mind I am using a mobile phone just to do all the editing. So it's not like I'm using a fancy computer or anything like that. I'm just doing what I find on my mobile phone together with my GoPro footage and putting it all together. So, trolling. It's an art form. It really is an art form. Anybody who tells me that they can just go out and catch fish just by chucking a lure out back at boat and catch fish all constantly all day is a liar. There's a lot of time, effort, planning to put into trolling. Make sure you take the right lures for the water clarity, for the depth you're fishing, if they're on a specific type that day, if you've got one of those. So there's a lot of things to take into account. The two rods I use are here. This is an 140 gram Gator rod, you can see that hopefully. This is the gunbait version, there, little decal there. I've used this from probably September all the way through to now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to change that rod this weekend. I'm going to go a little bit beefy. I'm using a lot more soft plastics now, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to up the rod just to be a little bit stronger. This is the beast of a rod. This is a big bait by Gator. This is a 180 gram casting weight rod. It's a proper beast, 8'5", and it can chuck literally anything. Not that, but it can play anything. It's a fantastic rod. I'm looking forward to getting out with tomorrow on river with that one and giving it a good go. I've got two different reels on these rods. This is a Shimano Calcutta 401D, which I've had for a couple of years, which is bulletproof. The other rod's got a BFT Instincts, which I've been using for about 12 months. So far so good. It's got a bit of squeaky clutch at the moment, so I'm going to have to give that a bit of a service tonight. But apart from that, both rods and reels are a good combination. I like 400 series reels for the line capacity, not for casting distance, but literally for trolling. If you're going to have some big soft plastics out and you want to get really far out behind you, you need a decent amount of capacity on your reel, so it's very, very important. Both rods have got 75-pound Bushido combat braid, which is really, really good stuff. I've been using that now for 18 months on both rods and it's done really well, no problems. It's a nice bit of braid. You should always have some decent braid for doing this game. Right, so let's get into the videos. The first one's going to be about trolling, ultralites. That's going to be the first part of the section. Then there'll be a part on soft plastics, and then there'll be a part on plugs. And what I'm trying to do, I've worked it out. If you're going to be fishing depths of up to 30 foot, anything deeper than that, where you're going to be using huge trolling lures like this that go down 30 plus feet. That monster. That's a proper lure, that. But it nearly rips your arm off when you're doing it. So it's not for faint-hearted, that sort of game. So all the gear I'll be using will be going up to that sort of a depth. So have a sit down, get yourself a brew, and I hope you enjoy this. Ultralight trolling is one of my favourite methods of catching fish, especially perch. It's a devastating method for catching perch. Rod-wise, you don't need all special. It's your standard ultralight gear. So what I tend to do is I use a rod that goes for between 2 and 20 grams casting weight. Braid, I step up a little bit from what I do from jigging. From jigging, I go on 8 pound. If I'm actually trolling, I'll up that probably to 12 to 16, because the problem is, as soon as you get snagged on bottom, you go with 8 pound line, you pull for it, you're losing a lure and trace. That's just fact. So what I tend to do is I up it to 12 to 16 pound, and that gives me a chance to straighten these trebles. They're only tiny, they're only really thin wire gauge, so a chance I can just about open it up. So that's what I tend to use. Again, wire trace. You're fishing with trebles, so if you have trebles and you get in counter pike, means you're gonna have some issues. So you've got to have a wire trace. I don't have to be a huge one. 18 inches perfect for doing this sort of thing. What I'm going to go through some of the lures that I use over the season, and these have caught me thousands of fish, thousands of perch. An average day on perch, you're going to get up to about 100, 150. Trolling and do a bit of casting as well. But if you get on a water where they're on it, you can catch some stupid numbers. Jigging wise, I've done 300 in a day. Trolling wise, I've done 150 plus a few times. So it is a really, really effective method. So I'm going to go through all the bad boys. The first one is this. This is Yogi. These hand built by a gentleman, and these are deadly for numbers. If you want numbers, smaller the better. Smaller and the more aggressive the better. So these have got really wide. These basically go down like this, rattling away, as you'll see in footage afterwards. I've got one underwater.
Brilliant lures. I won't go out with one of those. Fantastic for perch and for trout. I've got, again, hundreds and hundreds of trout on these. These are brilliant lures. You should always try and get some of these. They're hard to get hold of. Sovereign Super Baits have them in stock generally. Brilliant lure. Another one you'll see me caught loads of fish on before is a jointed shad wrap. Jointed shad wraps, 4 centimetres upwards, devastating lures. I've caught hundreds and hundreds of fish on those. They're just brilliant, and I have them in every single size, from the small size all the way through to large ones. They catch hundreds and hundreds of fish. They run really well as well. That lure will probably, on this size, will probably troll down about 8 foot, 9 foot. If you go to next size up, which I think, I don't know if it's 7 centimetre or whichever one it is, they will go down to 20 foot. So, you know, with let enough line out, you'll get it going, they will get down. However, you will do better in the margins when you're trolling for perch. It just seems to be that the bait fish hang in the margins, the perch hang around the bait fish. So you don't need stupidly deep diving lures, but it's always worth having them, especially fish on anything like a reservoir where you need to get down a little bit deeper. So you need deeper diving lures. Always have one of those. Brilliant lure. The one that's caught me probably most fish, and it's been the biggest revolution to me, is that one. That's an X-Wrap shad. They are lethal. That tail with a little tiny bit of feather in the back and a little bit of glitz in there has caught me, again, hundreds and hundreds of fish. They come in, I think, 2 sizes. I think they do a 5 and a 7 centimetres. They are brilliant lures. They track really well. Troll down to about 22 foot if you get enough line out there. Again, they're an action like that, the roll. They didn't the big waggle. It's the more of a roll, but it's really subtle. They're brilliant lures. Anybody who does any trolling and casting, brilliant lure. They cast a long way on ultralight gear. They're balanced perfectly. They've got rattles in there as well, if you can hear. Rattles in there. Anything to add attraction. Brilliant lures. I should always have one of those. Then I'll go to a subtle one. This is a lure that when I first started ultralight trolling, one of my pals, and he showed me how devastating it could be. This lure caught me tons of fish. Now, this is the original one I bought when I did that, and you're talking 15 years ago now, it's a long time ago, is that. That Rapala has caught me tons of fish, and that's a Team Esco. You can get them in floating and suspending. This is a floating version. They don't troll deep, they troll about 5 foot maximum, and they're really subtle. They just have a little roll, a little tiny roll. Now, sometimes the perch will prefer rolls than big flashy lures that make a load of noise. But I'll tell you what, again, another lure you should always have. I don't troll that enough, to be honest with you. I'm more nostalgia because I've had it such a long time, and it's got so many fish, pike and perch and trout. I mean, it's covered in, you don't need to be able to see, probably won't see, but it's covered in teeth marks and stuff like that. It's been a brilliant lure. I've got to show that on video because it's just such a good one. Team Esco, that's been a great lure. Another lure it does really well, Rapala, tail dancer. 7 and 9 centimetres, they'll just catch fish all day. These ones, again, will run down about 15, 18 feet. And what they've got, as I say, tail dancer, so the back end goes like that on troll. Again, a really good lure. Perch, trout, zander, you name it, you'll catch them on those. Those are the main ones I use on the boat and the ones you'll see in the video. Right, so what I've decided to do is trolling video, and we're going to do it in 3 stages. We're going to do ultralight trolling, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do some trolling with plugs, and then trolling with soft plastics. Water clarity's not brilliant today. There's been a little bit of rain overnight, so I'm not sure how it's going to go. But what we've done first, we've gone down this little canal here, and it's only a short run, but it might show you what we do on ultralights. A lot of ultralight trolling I do is done in very shallow water, so it's like 5 foot and less, generally at margins. So all I've got on today, I've got a little Yogi on. And it's just down there now trolling away. I've just lost a fish straight away. We'll have a run down this stretch here and see how it goes. Now, trolling's a really slow process. So what you want to do, you make sure you get yourself really comfortable, otherwise you're going to end up with a load of problems with your back and stuff like that. So I've actually got a rocking seat. I've got a bit of a bad back, so I've got a rocking seat. Ain't got some perch there. That's up again. I've got a really bad back, so I've got to be so careful. So what I like to do, I like to sit looking directly at my finder, and I like to have my rod tip point behind me. Reason for that is a lot of takes you're going to get, especially when you're on heavy gear, are slack line takes. So, or they're going to be either slack line or all on. So in other words, just full weight straight away. So what I like to do, I like to have my rod pointing slightly backwards, more like 45 degrees. What that does, it gives me an opportunity to strike, so I can just lift forward into strike. So that's what I tend to do. This canal here is about 6 foot, but there is a little bit of feature down there, more feature than you realise. Canals are actually not bad for features when you see one on a fish finder, and we're doing some recording of the fish finder as we speak, so hopefully you'll see exactly what I'm seeing on the camera. There's a little bit of weed down there. We found a load of bait, a load of fish feeding further down, so we're going to run through that and see if we can get any fish from there. But I thought I might pick 1 or 2 up here. 2 I've lost already, felt okay. The only problem is I've cut these have only got 2 points, so these trebles have only got 2 points on them because I use them for trout, Yogis. I generally cut them down a little bit so you don't end up with loads and loads of bloody hooks in the mouths. Now, trolling lures, as long as it's got a lip on it, it's going to dive. Now, if it's custom, like Yogis are all custom made, they're all handmade, individual tank tested, so they're going to be dead consistent. So this will run at generally about 3 foot down, maybe 3.5 foot down. So that's a really good depth on canals. You're going to be talking half depth there. Perch generally feeding off bottom anyway, so you'll generally start to get takes there. So we're just waiting now, see if we can get a take off a fish. I don't think it'll be too far away from here. We've seen some bits and bats. I'm not seeing much on Finder. There's quite a lot of weed growth down there. There's odd fish here and there, but it's not what I class as a shoal, what you need to go through with perch to get them competing. You also might see that I'm agitating rod all the time. I'm actually agitating my lure. I'm making it go forward and backwards, letting it sit in water like that and then speeding it up a little bit. What I'm trying to do is replicate a wounded fish. There'll be a lot of fish that swims past a shoal of perch and they won't attack it, but something comes to it slightly different. They'll go and have a go at it. So that's what I'm trying to replicate there. So as you can see, I'm just slowing it down and speeding it up, slow it down, speeding it up. And I'll tell you something now, if you do that, you will consistently catch more fish than the person inside here who just holds them steady. That is a fact, and I've proved that over and over again. So it's something worth doing. The only problem this time here, which is like middle of September, is that it's the leaves are starting to come off trees, which can be a complete ball ache, especially for a trawler. Because what happens, your line runs through them, they pick them up, they run down the line, they go to the lure. So you've always got to keep on moving along. You have really sensitive tips so you can actually feel the lure working. If you don't feel anything working, chances are it's picked some weed up or something like that. So look now. It's working consistently, warm. I can feel it working. See if we can catch your fish. Now this doesn't only catch perch, you'll get a lot of pike doing this as well, so it's really, really important you use wire traces. If you're ever using trebles, always use wire traces. I don't care what anybody says, I'm telling you now, you are asking for trouble. I've had a lot of good pike, trolling little tiny lures like this and jigging ultralites. If you're fishing with fluorocarbon, you are asking for trouble, you're asking to be bit off. So it's something you've got to bear in mind. If you're going to do any sort of fishing like this, you really do need a wire trace. Nothing stopping pike who are feeding on Friday this time of year coming up and engulfing somewhere like this and ended up with a whole lot of trouble if you've got a wire fluorocarbon trace on. It's only £20 titanium, but it does the job nice. What I'm going to speed the boat up a little bit now, just see if we can get them to come take him. Like I say, I've had 2 on and 2 off straight away. Let's see if we can speed it up a little bit and get them going. Nice flat bottom there, as you can see on Finder. It's all 5.5, 6 foot. Odd weed tufts here and there. All these little bits and bats, what you can see sticking up now, weed tufts. I ain't seen anything major structure down there, so there's no shopping trolleys and stuff like that down there, which you would pick them up if you went over top of them. The weed comes up to about 4 foot off the bottom, so it's definitely weed. It's quite tall stuff as well. Look, we haven't had any leaves down the line yet. What I tend to do is when I come back on rivers after the season's finished in back end of it when it gets cold and it warms back up again, it's time June, July, August, what I'll do is I'll go ultralight fishing. What I'll do is you can have some crazy numbers. You can have some crazy numbers doing this. Little perch.
perch there. There'll be loads of little fellas like that in here. Loads of them. We're coming up to a spot now where we've picked a load of bait fish up already, and Drew's already taken two on troll, two small jack pike that have been feeding on these shoals, which is not unusual. So yeah, so I'm going back to it. So what I tend to do, first few months of the new river season, I'll go ultralight and I'll try and catch a decent perch. You'll get plenty of little pike and stuff like that, especially if you're fishing at margins. And those are your best spots. If you're fishing at margins, you'll very rarely bag up in the middle of a river. You'll generally catch, well, first 10 foot of it and last 10 foot of it. So those are the spots that I generally target when I'm doing ultralight trolling. And you can have some unbelievable days. We've done 150 to nearly 200 fish to boat in a day, which is good sport in anybody's numbers. I'm just coming in some decent weed cover here now. Should start picking some bait fish up on finder any second. Start picking them up there, a little shoal there just off that wee bed. So hopefully we should start picking maybe a couple of perch up soon. I'll start agitating this. It's going to be going through a shoal of fry. There we go, that looks like a decent shoal there. Going through there, I'm starting to see fish blipping on surface as well, so there's bait fish down there. So I expect the takes to come any second. Like that. Right, that's the weed. It's the only other problem here, plenty of weed around. But that's where the fish are, so you've got to go through it. Make sure you always get rid of all the weed off the line. You don't want any weed on your line at all. Speed boat up again. Speed wise, I always like dead slow. If you go too fast, especially with these little tiny lures, you can unbalance them and it starts to turn over. What you want something tracking dead straight in a perfect line. If you start going too fast, it'll start tracking sideways, left and right, and it'll spin around in circles. Absolutely no good to a trolling man. You want consistency of lures, especially if you're going to be doing any trolling on any sort of depth. You want consistent, especially when you're trolling around trees as well. Now there's a load of bait fish just showed up here. You should be able to see on finder. Individual bits and bats. I'll hold it slow and you might be able to see actual taps at the rods when you start going through these shoals. I've no doubt whatsoever there's a load of perch down there feeding. That's where Drew's had his two old jacks as well. But the water is coloured today. Bugger. The water is coloured today, so we will see another nice stack of fish there. Not sure if it's roach or baby or fry from other perch, but they will feed on each other. Very cannibalistic. There's plenty of bait down there. I expected a few perch going through that. I did same again last week and had a load of perch going through here, then recorded it, maybe 10-15 perch, and started recording it and didn't catch a thing, which is typical. Unfortunately, two boats went through, which just killed it. Just killed sport. As soon as you chain bottom up, it just ruins it, especially if it's coloured already. Keep on going now. Again, there's a few bits of bats down there, just off of this bridge. Perch as well, it's a very perchy spot. Anywhere where you've got changing structure. If your banking goes to corrugated iron, it's a good place to try. Anything man-made, they'll hang around. Just hope this load's going down deep enough to pull them up. Unfortunately, there's a load of leaves coming through here. Go back and get through it. Hopefully. Just got through there, mate. When you're in charge of a boat, you've actually got a lot of things to think about. Not only watching the finder, you're also moving the boat around to try and track bottom. You've also got your own lure to worry about and what that's doing. You've also got your partner's lures to worry about and what they're doing. What generally happens, I fish off left-hand side of the boat, passenger fish off the opposite side of the boat, so you keep it consistent. What you don't want to do is to have lures touching each other in the middle, so what generally happens when you're trolling is your lure actually comes behind the boat and it pulls in, it pulls into the centre. So if you have two on one side, you can easily go over top of each other.
and start having loads of problems that way. So it's always wise to keep both rods out, not too far back. Still see odd fish blipping in front of us where we're going. Can only apologise for the wind today. It's going to be a bit of a windy one and a wet one, so that's why I've got this video out and over and done with really quickly before we start on heavy gear. See if we can find some fish. What I'm going to have to do is change plugs, so a bit more visual, so I'm just going to dive a little bit deeper, try and turn them up a little bit, just so we can get some decent footage. I hope that's good. Back with it. Always worth having your clutch really set light, so if you do get anything of any size, just a little tiny jack pike here, you can then land it all okay. Little walking jack here, the smallest fish. Not a monster, and not a perch, unfortunately. Little tiny jack there. Oh no. Just there, little tiny jack. Nice little fish that. Being bitten by something slightly bigger. Drop you off there, sunshine. Best luck to you. Grubtail lures, vary in size from that little bad boy to huge monstrosities. That's a mag dog. In fact, a super mag dog is that one. I've actually got a pounder, but you won't get it all in film. So stuff like that. Now, trolling these off boats is really good. I'll tell you the reason why. Anything with a tail, like a squirrely tail, will run lower and straighter in the water because there's no real lift. There's no real... When you've got a paddle tail going like that, what it does, it lifts the lure up in the water. These don't. This is one of my favourites. That is what I class as a whale tail. That's what I've always called whale tail. You'll have seen me catch loads of fish on these on videos before. I got this one from Sweden actually, from Soda Sportsfisk. When I were over there, I nearly passed out when I saw these, because you never used to get these in this country. They only used to get black and blues and oranges and yellows. Yellows are great. The black, I've bought every single bit of stock that is available in country, so I've got about 25 in my garage. Jig head, best way to do it. Put a jig head on a shallow screw. Dead simple. Really good lures. And these, sometimes, it are subtle enough, but making just enough of noise and vibration underwater that pike just home in on them. I've had some great days casting these and trolling them. Brilliant lures for trolling. I would always have one of these. Now, you can go from that sort of thing and you go to paddle tails. Paddle tails are two forms. There's two lures that you'll see me use that have always done really well. That one is one of the best ones on the market. That is Fox Replicant. This is new. This is one of the newer style ones with like realistic pattern on them, but as you can see from that one already, that's had a fairly hard life. I mean, I've done nearly 60 fish in the last few outings, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I've glued it 3 or 4 times, but it needs another glue before I take it out again. Brilliant lure. They run down probably about 9 feet maximum. If you let loads and loads and loads of line out, I mean literally a 401 reel, let's take all the line out, you might get them down to 14, 15 foot, but not much more than that. Paddle tails are not great for running deep because there's lift. So when they're doing this, they're actually lifting in water, where your stuff like whale tails, it'll dive a little bit better because there's less resistance. Fantastic lure. Always have some of those. Not a massive fan of the hook on the top on the single, and on a lot of my lures, a lot of these I've cut them off. But listen, it is what it is. That's how they are. They're fantastic from bank casting, but really, really good trolling lures. I've had a lot of fish on those. That's a Gatorgum. This is one of Gator's soft plastics, and again, as you can see, it's had a fairly hard life for that one. I mean, it's on, God knows how it's still in one piece, probably super glue, I would imagine. But it's had a fairly decent run. Shallow rigged. Again, you can have it completely shallow, go for a weighted jig head, and that's something like 15 gram. Again, these will run down the same sort of depth as a Replicant, so you're talking about 9, 10 feet. Again, brilliant lures. Should always have them on the boat. Soft plastic trolling is one of my favourites. I really enjoy it. The takes on them are fantastic. Unlike what you get on plugs, a lot of plugs are just what I class as takes, but these have big slackline takes, because what happens, the fish come from behind, they're trolling along like this, pike comes along, takes it, pushes it towards you, you get slacklined on your end of your rod tip, then you get the weight. Brilliant. God, I love soft plastic trolling. Right, so soft plastic lures and trolling. This is a Gatorgum, 22 centimetre with a 25 gram jig head in, so you can get it down a little bit. Shallow system on it. Always make sure you put these points in here, very important that, especially for what tends to happen with soft plastics, they wrap themselves up a little bit, so if you keep them apart like this, it actually makes it a lot better and they don't all get screwed up around here. Really important that. I've lost a couple of fish doing that. So what we're going to do, we're going to record the fish finder at the same time. We're in 10 foot water. I'm going to drop this back here about that far, which is what, about 25 yards. I'm going to let it drop a little bit, then we're going to stop it. Now, optimum depth of generally when you're using soft plastics is about 8 to 9 foot. You're not going to get much lower than that unless you're using something extremely big and something extremely heavy. I don't generally do that. I like to be able to feel my lures, and the problem is when you get really heavy soft plastics, you can't actually feel what's going on. So what I like to do, I like to get my bait out, get it well back, like I say, a good 25, 35 yards behind the back of the boat, and then I like to keep it a constant. So what I'll do is I'll let a little bit line out till touch bottom. Now we're just coming up to 8 foot of water here, and I don't reckon that I'll probably do that, so it's coming up a little bit more, so I'm going to lift the rod up. Lift the rod up there. That's it. Now it's coming to 6 foot, so I know that it's going to run lower than that. So what I don't want to do is snag it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to accelerate the boat a little bit, pick up revs a little bit, and that'll take that over the top of that hump, which you can see on Finder now. And what I'm going to do, as soon as I'm over that, which obviously isn't on the, although it shows it on the Finder, it's actually much further behind you. So you've got to try and judge how far away it is. So I'm going to slow that down again now, knock off revs. Start running it again. So now we should have gone over that hump and we're now running nice and level. It's 8 foot, it's a good depth. It's a good depth, is that. But what I'm doing, I'm agitating this bait and I'm moving it. I'm getting it, slowing it up and speeding it up and slowing it down again. Exactly the same we did with soft plastic, with the ultralight video. Exactly the same you do with plugs. Just keep it moving all the time. Tail's bouncing there, I can feel the tail bouncing along. I'm just tracking bottom now. Now it's going down to 10 foot, so I'm just going to slow it down a little bit. Just going to slow it down a little bit. That's a nice depth that. It's really coloured today, so you've got about 2.5 foot fizz. So if in 10 foot water you want to be about 7.5 to 8 foot, you don't want to be on the bottom. You you just want to be off bottom, because otherwise you're just going to cause in loads of problems and get snags everywhere. So I'll just take this bait a little bit, get it moving a little bit, like this. Again, it's dropping off a little bit, so I'm going to do a little bit of line out, like that. See if I can get it down to closer to 9 foot. We're in 10 foot of water now, well, nearly 12 foot, coming up to 13, 15, that's a fish. So, it shows it could happen. That came out of about 10.5 foot of water. I don't think specifically big fish, but it just shows what can happen. That were a bit of a slack line take. It bounced once and then went. Like I said, I don't think it's a particularly big fish. That's okay. Watch out, this. Watch out. It's not a big one. Average size fish I've had today, really. So again, we've done this before. Got hold of the hooks there. Daisy, watch out. Tell us, watch out. A lot of hooks there. I've done this a few times before. It should be okay. Pop that one out. Pop that one out. Nice little fish there, Drew.
Yep, pike is pike.
Pike is pike. Pike is pike. Drop her back. Come on. Get this one off. Now, it's dead important now. You just check your rig and make sure everything's okay. As you can see there, it's all messed up. So I'll have to just undo that now. That couldn't have been any better. You're catching it live on camera is perfect. It's what I've tried to do, but it's really, really hard. The problem is at this time of year it's inconsistent fishing, so you can have 25, 30 fish in a day, but they'll come, in fact, if you just look there, don't find her, that's a fish going back down to the bottom. What can happen is it can be inconsistent, so you can have a really quick spell where you'll have 10, 15 fish, and then you'll have nothing for 3 or 4 hours, and that makes it really, really hard to do any sort of filming. So that were perfect, really. That were perfect. So there you go. Again, I'll just show this to Drew, nice and close, so you can see it. Pointing there. Hook just behind it. Run it down bait, dead in centre. Drop that in there. And drop that into tail. You can see it's had a few fishes this one in the last few times, so it's doing quite well. Turn boat around now, and we'll start again. Just have another quick run down here. Like I say, you just never know. I always like to run if I can around the same spots twice, especially if you've caught a fish. You just never know what else is there. I'll whip it around really quick. Now what happened there, we came over top of the hump, and I think what happened, that fish was sat in the hump. Drop there, slow it right down, let it drop down in water column. If you sit off too quick, without letting it run off a little bit like that, what happens, it stays high in water, and you've got to let loads line out. So the best thing to do is let it drop down in water first, get down in water column. So it's working for you, it's working where you want it to be. That's a little bit snaggy down bottom of here now, so I'm just going to move out a little bit. It's a nice depth though, it's 10.5 foot, 11 foot. I know I'm not going to trip bottom, unless I go too slow. Just along there. It's good depth, it's running nice. Feel pulse at tail, just bumping away. Now, the only difference you have when you're doing anything like this, especially with soft plastics, the only really thing that affects them is, oh, that's nasty. That's a really nasty snag. I'll just bring the rod up in air. So what I'm going to try and do is bring that lure over the top of that snag. Now, it might look stupid holding the rod up in air. The other alternative is to accelerate and pull through it. What that'll do, because of the negative resistance, so what happens is the tail's flapping along. As soon as you speed it up, it actually lifts the lure up in water, undifferent to a plug, which will dive down if you go quicker. So what I've done, I know there's a snag there, so what I've done, I've gone over the top of it now. I'm going to bring the lure back down and then run it again. So now I'm running along, it's in 10 foot of water, which is a good spot. This is where I'd expect to start picking pike up. So what you've seen how soft plastics go, you've seen a take, which were nice to get on camera. What we're going to do now, we're going to swap over and do it again with a plug. I'm going to go with probably Shad wrap, because Shad wraps generally run about 10 foot. So I'm going to run this exact same stretch again, exact the same camera, and we'll do it all again and see it with a plug, and you'll see differences I do with plugs. When most people think about lures, they think about plugs. Now, for trolling, there's various ones I use, but the most important thing is you've got to pick the lure to the depth. So there's no point fishing a lure that dives to 35 foot in 5 foot water. There's no way you're going to get a lure that runs, supposed to run at 5 foot, 30 foot down. So that's the hardest part you've got to understand about trolling. You've got to pick the lure that will go to the depth that you're fishing, or within 2 or 3 feet at bottom, depending on water clarity. So I'm just going to go through some lures that have done well for me over years. First one is one I'm probably best known for, squirrely Burts. These are great for trolling. Not a lot of people know this, but if you can troll these, now I all mine sit like that when they're resting, with basically the top of the tip of the tail just sat on the top of the viscosity of the water. That's how they sit. Trolling wise, what they do is when you give it a sweep at rod tip, it'll actually dive down and stay there because it's almost neutrally buoyant. It'll just sit there in water. Do it again, it'll go down. These actually troll about 9 foot. I get these down about 9-10 foot, and you just do it like a normal squirrely Burt. So it's just long pulls at rod tip as you're going along. Obviously, momentum at boat taking you forward will pick up your slack line, and these are great. These dive down really well. I've caught a lot of fish on those. It's been a really good lure. I know on the original trout waters, when a lot of lads sit these on trout waters, people like Nigel Grasby and Dave Lum and stuff like that did some really, really big fish on these types of lure trolled. Although it's a casting lure, always worth a go. Good lure. Now we're going to go for depth. Anything that's like 5 feet to 10 feet, there's one lure that always comes out for me. If I'm not using soft plastic and I want a plug, this is it. Now, I'm a bit embarrassed how bad this looks. I lent it to Drew last week and he's basically broken it. I've had it for, I don't know, as long as I've been lure fishing and trolling on boat. So, here she is. Rapala Shad wrap, super Shad wrap, the original super Shad wrap. It made out of balsa, wired through, thank God, because as you can see there, hopefully you'll be able to see that, it's actually coming through. It's knackered, isn't it? It's had loads of fish, but I'll tell you what, it'll still catch a lot of fish. That they run 9 to 10 feet, 9 to 10 foot optimum depth. They don't go much deeper than that. You can get a slightly deeper version. You can also get a sinking version, a countdown version that may run a little bit deeper than that. But they've been fantastic. They're really subtle lure. They're not really big aggressive lure. They're more of a roll, just like that. You've got to have one of those. They've caught so many fish all over the world, not just in UK. I know that the big Nile perch and stuff used to be, taken apart by these sort of lures. So a really good lure. Should always have one in your bag. So one of my go-to lures, 10 foot and less. If you're going to go any deeper than that, you're wanting a lure that's going to run maybe 10 to 15 foot. There's a couple that come to mind. It's a grandma type lure or a grandma lure or type lure. There's a few fake versions around, but this is an actual original grandma, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, pictures. These are good. These have got a roll. Again, they roll like that. Nice and steady. They've got rattles inside, as you can hear. And when you hear them on underwater footage, you can actually hear them rattling away. 3 trebles, I'm not a massive fan, but one thing I will say to you, if you are going to take them off, the best one to take off to me is a front one. I'll tell you the reason why. Most pike take them like that, so you want some coverage. I would say that 75 to 80% of all takes you'll get on plugs, the fish have taken it there. On the back end, they've come up behind it and swallowed it. So the back two are the most important 2 trebles for me. So I might have to set that off. It's a nightmare when you get a fish on those with 3 trebles. You don't need 3 trebles unless it's a stupidly big lure. Even some of my really big trolling lures that go down 40 plus feet, they don't have trebles with that much coverage. So yeah, grandma lures, very, very nice. Again, run down about 12, 14, 15 foot. Next one is a believer. Believers, there's loads of versions of these. There's ones with tails, there's standards, there's jointed. The good thing about them is you can actually run them at 2 depths. You can actually run them shallow, or you can run them deep. That's shallow one, that's deep one. So you can run these at various depths. Although the only problem I have with these is they are a little bit wandering. In other words, they wander around a little bit. They go around a little bit like that, and then. When I troll lures, I want my rod tip to be dead consistent. I want it to be a tap, 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 tap. Anything that starts messing about and then nothing happens and you have to speed it up a little bit to get it to work again, and it's not running dead true and doing that all the time, I'm not keen on. But it still catches tons and tons of fish. It really does. I had some cracking fish on that. I think for my birthday last year, I think I had a 17 my birthday last year on one of those. Brilliant lure. 2 trebles again. It's more than enough. Big trebles as well. Great lure. Should always have at least a couple of those. I've always got 2 or 3 of those in my bag when I go. Now we're going to go into deeper water, so you're going to need something that's going to get down now between 15 and 20 foot, maybe up to 22, 23 foot. Most rivers I fish don't go down deeper than 30 feet, so you don't need anything stupidly deep. Although it is nice in winter if you can get a lure that does dig down quickly and get down to bottom quickly and then start smacking bottom. Sometimes that can trigger takes. Ernie's a great lure. These run dead consistently and have caught me loads of fish. 20 foot of water, that's probably the first lure I go to. It used to be the depth raider. Depth raiders are good. I've always got, I don't know, I think I've probably got one in my bag here for the see. No, it's stuck on bottom. There you go. Sorry. That's a depth raider. Again, brilliant lure. 20, 25 foot, perfect. 20, 25 foot, perfect. This is a more of aggressive, so this has got a lot more tail rattle, bigger roll. This is more like that. But again, very, very effective. Always worth having a couple of those in. They've been great trolling lures for me, and if you speak to most people about trolling, there's probably 2 lures that most people speak about. Really good lures. Then you go down to your big ones. I'm not going to go stupidly, but I'm going to get some of the really large ones I've got. This is actually quite a cheap one. This is a Frenzy. And this runs 35 foot. If you put enough line out, that will bang 35 foot all day long. Again, it gets it down really, really quick. You can tell by its shape of its billet front, it's going to dive down really, really quickly. I've had a load of fish on that, and it's a lure that I left in my bag for years, and I never even tried it. And then one day I tried it on boat, and it digged down so quickly, and I started catching fish on it, especially when it starts getting a bit cold and you want lures down there, and they're searching in bottom. They're a really good lure. They're not stupid money as well. I think they're only about 10, 12 quid. They're a really good lure. They'll go 30 plus. I'm not going to bother going on your really, really huge lures. There's no point. It's mainly about trolling on boat, and it's mainly about trolling off, especially on rivers, and that's where you'll see footage. So yeah, a great lure. Should always have something that goes a little bit deeper. Trolling plugs is fantastic sport.
Right, so now we've got a plug on. Rapala Shad Wrap. I have literally caught hundreds of fish on that lure. As you can see, it looks a bit battered. It's made out of balsa, it's wired through, so there's no problems with this coming off, although it looks a bit of a mess at the back end. That's had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fish. So I'm going to put that on. Shad Wrap's a great lure. They're quite subtle, they've got quite a nice steady roll, but they track really well. So in other words, if you're going quick, they stay in a perfect line, where a lot of lures will start turning over. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cast it back. We're in 7 foot of water. I'm going to start boat going, I'm going to drop it back about there, same again, about 35, 40 yards away, and we'll start going. Now what we're going to do is speed up a little bit here, because it's actually quite, that'll get it down now. So what I can do now, I can see on rod tip, you can see it vibrating away, so you know your lure's working. It's always worth just keeping an eye on that as well, because when that stops rocking like that, there's something wrong. It's either got a leaf on it or something like that, so it's got a problem. You need to get your lure in, clean your leaves off, put it back in water and keep on going. So we're dropping that at 10 foot now, so I know I'm not going to start snagging bottom in 10 foot of water, because this lure will run optimum depth at about 10 foot, so it's going to run at a steady depth here. There's no point going too fast. The only difference is with plugs is that it's because they've got a lip on them, you're pushing them down. Now the flow is going this way, so I'm going against flow at this moment in time, so it's actually helping me push my lure down. If I'm going downstream and I'm going with the flow, sometimes you've got to speed them up a little bit, because the flow's moving that way and your lure's moving that way, there isn't as much resistance, so you've actually got to speed it up a little bit. Again, I'm sat with my rod 45 degrees backwards, so if any fish take, I'll just take that back of there. There's a big branch in water, I don't want to catch that. There we go. So what we'll do again, have it 45 degrees, if any fish takes, I can strike into it, I can get a good firm hold before I start messing around, putting the boat in neutral and jumping for nets and stuff like that. It's got to be comfortable. It's a long time, you troll for a long period of time. Today we've been trolling since about, I don't know, 12 hours nearly. Done 12 hours trolling today, had about 20, 25 fish or something like that. Not special, although I did get loads of lump on a pound mag dog, which I don't want to talk about. So there's some snags down there now, just out of 10 foot, so I don't want to bring my lure into that. So what I'm going to do, exactly the same, I'm going to bring my lure up in water. That, in theory, will lift my lure over top of that snag so I don't get snagged in it, because you don't want to get snagged all the time. It's a nightmare getting snagged. I hate losing lures. The one thing you do is, if you do get snagged, if you actually turn the engine off backwards, go around the back of the lure, you can sometimes pull it off. What you don't want to do is start pulling into it and try and bend it out. It's not good. Best thing to do, especially with plugs, because they float, go around back of it and hopefully you can get your lure out. I'm just going to come across stream a little bit here because it's a little bit sunny. That's not too much issue, it's actually quite a nice thing. It's gone at 10 foot here, so I'm going to speed boat up a little bit, drop a little bit of line out. We'll just speed it up a little bit. Again, I'm agitating my lure all the time, and the good thing is with that, I can feel it working, so I know it's working. And if there's any pike following, which you do get a lot of follows, I'm sure if I put a water wolf on, you get a lot more follows than you realise, especially when you're trolling. So sometimes, if you could speed up that little bit, it's enough for a pike to strike. It can make all the difference between not catching fish and catching fish. I like fishing with plugs. It's a lot easier to fish with plugs with two people, especially if they both got lures that track really, really well. What you don't want one lure that tracks really well and one that's just going all over the back of the boat, because if you touch each other, it's a nightmare. It spins around in circles and you end away loads of problems with your braid and stuff like that. So always make sure your plugs are tracking well, make sure all eyes and stuff are good on them. Some people put the split rings at 30 pounds, I don't. I leave them exactly what they came from factory. I prefer to lose a lure than to lose a fish, so I like to leave mine as they are. Make sure your hooks are sharp, it's extremely important, especially when you're trolling. Again, it's a long period of time you're doing this, so make sure you're comfortable. You know, there's no point being sat up like this. You've got to make sure that you sat there and it's comfortable, your back's okay. Because I've got a bit of a glass back, mine's actually on a rocker is my seat, so I can absorb some of the long, strenuous days just sat here holding a lure rod. Now, there's nothing much difference to this bottom here, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to keep on going, like this. Now, what would happen if it did actually get down to 10 foot, I mean, we're in 9.5 foot here now. If it did actually get down to 10 foot, all I'd do is lift the rod up, lift a bit of line in, wind down a bit and take a bit of line off. The more line you bring off, the higher that's going to sit in water. So in other words, if I have it 4 foot off boat, I'm not going to be able to get it 8 foot down in water. So if I'm starting to hit bottom and it is causing a problem, what I can do, I can wind a bit of line in. You can always let it out later, that's not a problem at all. Just run it up here. Chance of getting a take on camera 2 times in a row, I don't think it's going to be possible. Like I say, it's been a bit of a slow day today. We had a bit of sport early on. We've had a fair few fish this afternoon, but you know, it's steady away. Where to troll on river with stuff like this, I prefer margins. I prefer stuff like this where you've got a load of trees hanging over and stuff like that. You can imagine it being a great place for predators. As long as your fish finder's on, you can see if there's any snags down there. Last thing you want is a big branch stuck out and you're getting stuck on a branch. Again, I'm speeding my lures up and down, agitating it constantly. Then it sit there and stuff. It's amazing how many times you get takes when you do that. It happens a lot, so it's not a coincidence that these sort of things happen. Just running along again. It's nice, it's really consistent, so it's perfect for doing this sort of thing. If I let a little bit more line off, I would imagine I'll probably start hitting bombs. If I can start hitting bombs, show you what happens. Speed boat up, let a bit of line out. Now, so see if I can hit bottom a little bit, and you'll see what happens on rod tip. It's just bouncing bottom there, so you can just see you start to get like a. I can actually feel it down rod tip now. There you go, it's starting to trip bottom. See it? Not right. So what I'm going to do, it's actually a big snag there, so I'm going to lift that up. I'm going to kilt revs. There's a big snag you can see on behind you. Lift that up there. I'm going to go over top of it. I've slowed the boat down. It's a floating low, so it will actually come up to the surface and go over top of there. Step boat going a little bit faster now, so it should just be about over top of that snag. Hate getting snag lures, it really winds me up. Whereas someone said to me, if you're not getting your lure on bottom, you're not getting close enough. I don't personally agree with that. I think you need at least 2 foot visibility, and if you can run a lure 2 foot off bottom in 2 foot visibility, you'll catch fish like we have to do today.
They can't be no more than 2.5 foot today, and we've caught quite consistently all day. So it's running nice again now. I'm going to let a bit more line out. I've wound some in. Again, it's about 7.5, 8 foot. Perfect for a shad wrap. If you were in deeper water, you just switch lures. So if you're going to use something like, I don't know, something like an Ernie, something like that. If you're going to use an Ernie, something like that, that's going to do 20 foot down. You're not going to put it in. You're not going to be using it in 8 foot of water. Complete waste of time. So you've got to match your lure to the depth of water. That's the hard part, especially if you don't know the water. If you don't know the water, it's really hard work. But the best advice I'll give you is have a good run up and down your stretch of water you're going to fish first, and you'll get some sort of an idea. If you've got GPS on your find and it has got some sort of map in there, have a look at that first. You can get some sort of an idea what you're going to need. I know most of my waters pretty well now, so I know almost where to change lures before I actually get to the spots. I mean, this is 6 foot now, so I wouldn't generally use a plug in 6 foot. I'd use a soft plastic. But you know, you can still use them. You'll still do really well. You'll still catch plenty of fish. So that's trolling. Plugs, that's the difference between trolling plugs and soft plastics.
So that's it, that's the end of the trolling video. It's been a bugger to make. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I've captured what all trolling's about for me, and the art of trolling. Next video is going to be about dead bait fishing. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be covering anchoring, water clarity, position of baits, and also the type of setup I use and why I use that setup. It's done really well for me over the last 10-15 years, so hopefully you'll enjoy that video as much as you've done this one. Please, if you enjoyed it, subscribe and give me a big thumbs up.